Hello everyone, my name is Marilena Chirculete. I am a teacher of English at Shakespeare School. Thank you very much for being here on this lovely evening. Thank you for taking your time to attend this webinar, which is called The Ultimate Guide to IELTS and Cambridge Exams. I will be your host for the next 60 minutes, give or take, because I'm sure that you will have questions at the end that I will answer. Now, a bit of the administrative details that you should be aware of. First things first, you will see me only now at the beginning, and then you will be able to see my slides, but not myself. If you have anything to ask or to comment, look at the right-hand side of your screen. At the bottom, you should see the text box, the message box, which you can use in order to communicate. So if you can see me and if you can hear me, please type hello so that we can all greet each other. I will begin. Okay, so I hope you can see my message. If you can hear me and if you can see me, hello, wow, okay, Madalena, Christina, wow, Diana, nice, okay, Dragoș, hello everyone. Thank you. I will try to keep this webinar as interactive as possible, so don't fall asleep, contribute. There will be tasks for you to do and to learn from. And one more thing before we begin. If you have questions, in order for us to have an easier task at identifying them, I would like you to look again at your chat box, at the text box in which you write your messages. On the left-hand side of this text box, you will see a speech bubble. Now, if you click on that speech bubble, you will see two icons, chat and answer. If you want to receive an answer on something, please click answer and then type your question. I will try to address as many of your queries at the end of the webinar. So the slides will not be interrupted, but don't worry, we will address as many questions as possible at the end of the webinar. Okay, I see there's quite a lot of us here. Hello to you all, and well, let's get started, shall we? Now, about the ultimate guide to IELTS and Cambridge exams, first of all, allow me to tell you something about the organizer of this webinar, Shakespeare School. And the few things that you should know are these. We were established as a Center for English Preparation in 2002. There are currently more than 2,000 students attending our classes, and we are a Platinum Preparation Center for Cambridge Exams. As far as this is concerned, allow me to present you with the diploma we have, which states that we are a Platinum Preparation Center. And since we're talking about diplomas, let's see more about why you would like to obtain a Cambridge diploma or an IELTS statement of result. So why are you interested in taking either one of these exams or tests? Please type in your answers in the chat box so that we can see where we're starting from and what your interests are in this field. Why IELTS or Cambridge exams? What are your reasons? Right, Tatiana, to receive international recognition, to improve my English for my job. Yes, excellent. Oh, university, definitely. They will grant you access. Yeah, for me, nice, Bogdan, sure. Aha, yes. Again, to study abroad. University reasons mainly, I see. Right, university again. Very interesting. Okay, so I see that the majority of the participants are interested in these exams for educational purposes, to improve their English and for a future job. Well, this is right down our alley, because today, yes, we are going to focus on these two exams for these very reasons. First of all, if there are any high school students among us, you should know that both of these exams replace the linguistic competency within the baccalaureate. So this is one perk you get out of them, and it's one more incentive along the ones you have just mentioned, of course. To test your level of English, I've noticed that quite a lot of you said, for me, yes, this is an excellent reason. You have intrinsic motivation, as they call it. If you do something for yourself and for your self-improvement, your results might just be greater than otherwise. And of course, admissions to universities are no object when it comes to IELTS or Cambridge. We'll see exactly how we can get there. Last but never the least, job opportunities. And about job opportunities, you should know that these diplomas are recognized by thousands of universities and organizations, institutions, companies worldwide. The question is, which one do you need, right? Well, hopefully at the end of this webinar, we will know, and you will know, which exam fits you best and fits your requirements best, I guess. So, today's aims would be a short comparison between Cambridge exams and the IELTS, which you will see are quite different, and of course a focus on the Cambridge English Advanced, the CAE, and the IELTS academic module concerning the following skills: reading and use of English, writing, listening, speaking. About this, I noticed that since quite a lot of you are interested in going to university abroad, these two exams slash tests would be most useful for you. So for job opportunities and university applications, the CAE is the tests you want to take, or the IELTS academic module. Last but never the least, to see exactly what you remember at the end of these 60 minutes, we'll have a final quiz, and we'll see if you have any other questions after it, of course. Now, let's start with the results. If you want to obtain the goal that you are aiming for, the results are essential. Take a look at both of these types of results. And I'm interested in which of the two exams you think that the first category deals with. So on the left-hand side of the screen, you will see a pass or fail system. Which of the exams is concerned, CAE or IELTS, when it comes to pass or fail? Please type in your answers, either CAE or IELTS, in the chat box. I see we have a vote for IELTS. Left CAE, right IELTS. Okay. CAE, IELTS, Apparently, the opinions are quite divergent, but I see that the majority of you consider that the left-hand side of the screen has to do with the CAE statement of results, and you are right. Cambridge English Advanced works on a pass-fail system, and in a minute I will tell you exactly what this means and how useful it is for you to actually pass the exam. What are the consequences, though, if you fail it? It's not the end of the world, and you'll see why. Whereas on the right-hand side, you have the no pass-fail, the IELTS statement of result, which ranges from band 1 to band 9 in terms of how proficient you are in the English language. Now, let's put these things into perspective. As I said, passing the CAE exam is probably a very important task for you. However, failing it is not that bad. Let me explain. You see here the ruler that Cambridge exams use in order to grade all of their exams. Today, since we'll focus on the CAE and the IELTS, I'll discuss these two mainly. Now, between 210 and 200, you have a grade A advanced diploma, which means that you don't only get a C1 diploma, you get an extended diploma that grants the fact that your level of English is in fact proficient. You will see how grade A for CAE and grade C for proficiency are on the same level. So of course this will be very valuable. But let's look at below 180. This means that you fail the CAE exam, but you are not left without a certificate. You will get an extended diploma again, which says that your level is in fact B2. So if you need it for a job application or simply to prove the level of the English you have without the institution requesting explicitly a CAE, if you get between 160 and 180 marks, you still receive a certificate. And yes, the level is below level C1, but you can still use it. What are the limits here? Well, you cannot use an extended level B2 diploma to attend a university. If a university requires the CAE exam, the Cambridge English Advanced, they will want you to have passed it at grades C, B, or A. Now, for the IELTS, the range, of course, starts with an interest for university applications at 6.57. These would be the bands that if you get in this exam, you can be certain that you can use at a university abroad. I also told you that the IELTS and the Cambridge English Advanced replace the linguistic competency within the baccalaureate. And in order to do so, you need to have a pass C, B, or A in CAE, or above band 4.5 in the IELTS, if you can believe that. Level B2, however, extended diplomas will not be accepted for equivalating the linguistic competency within the baccalaureate, nor anything below band 4.5 in the IELTS. So, with this in mind, let's see something more about the certificates. I'm not sure if you know this, but any Cambridge certificate is valid for life. For admissions to university, however, you should probably inquire a bit further with the university admissions office, but most of them require that the certificate should not be older than 2 years. So if you take the exam, keep this in mind as well. For job opportunities, for job applications, this will not be the case. However, unless, of course, the company requires for a specific diploma or a specific time limit. Obviously, the most valuable grade is grade A, in comparison with the IELTS, which does not give you a diploma or a certificate. What you need to know is that the IELTS expires, and therefore you receive a test report form in electronic shape, by the way, and you can send it to any institution, company, or university that you are interested in. For admissions, however, you should know again that the band should be above 6.5. If you are aiming for a top-ranked university, you should aim at about above 7, of course. As far as the structure goes, the new situation, the revised CAE, is much more alike with the IELTS. In terms of the number of papers, there are currently 4 papers in the Cambridge Advanced. Reading and use of English combined, by the way, they used to be separated, not anymore. Writing, listening, and speaking. Because the 2 papers, reading and use of English, are combined, the entire test lasts for 3 hours and 55 minutes, which is a reduction in the time limit. And I think that every student, every exam taker is happy with it. Still, the IELTS is much shorter by 1 hour and 10 minutes. It has 4 parts of 4 papers: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. And you might have noticed already that the use of English component is gone. There is no such thing in the IELTS. The way they test grammar and vocabulary, which use of English tests, is through the way you speak, through the way you write and through the way you receive information in English, in listening and reading. So let's see. Today our aim is the IELTS academic, not general training. And in terms of structure, this only differs from the general training in terms of academic reading and writing. These are the only two papers that are different. Listening and speaking are common, but for today, we are going to focus on the academic module only, which is the one that helps you with both jobs and university applications. So let's begin with the reading. The first of the papers, in the Cambridge English Advanced, they call it Reading and Use of English, as I said, because it compares and it comprises both reading comprehension exercises and grammar and vocabulary exercises in 8 parts. That's 56 questions in 1 hour and 30 minutes. This means that you would have about 1.5 minutes to choose one of the answers. It's not too long, it's not too short, but probably as you practice, and practice is of the essence here, you will be able to solve these tasks much faster. In some tasks, you will need more time, obviously, and by the time you take the exam, it's wise for you to do a few practice tests to see exactly where you do better and where you need to pay more attention. Now, for the IELTS, the academic reading has only 3 sections, only 40 items, but the time is much shorter. As you can see, only 60 minutes. Don't worry though, students have been known to solve all 40 items in far less than 60 minutes. Practice makes perfect. Remember that. How can you improve your results? Well, here are some of the ideas, the tricks, the tips that we also give to our students at Shakespeare School. And the first and foremost is read in English. Whatever you write, whatever you listen to, all starts from you receiving information and internalizing this information. Reading improves your grammar and vocabulary, and by all means, read for pleasure. Whatever field you're interested in, whether it is online gaming or science, robotics, fashion, doesn't matter. Just read online. There are plenty of magazines, articles, graded readers, reports, novels that you might want to take a look at. About graded readers, a few words. What are they? You might not be familiar with this term. Well, these are books, famous ones, that are adapted to different levels of competency in English. So you might want, if you're preparing for an advanced, to, of course, choose the advanced adaptation so that you receive the vocabulary and the grammar necessary for this level. When you read, use the dictionary wisely. What do I mean by that? Well, if you want to increase your comprehension in reading, don't use a dictionary. Try to move on and to see and deduce what the words mean from context. On the other hand, if you are trying to increase the level of grammar and vocabulary that you have, use the dictionary, use grammar books, research what you want to focus on every time. So depending on your aims, this is what I also tell my students, use the dictionary, however, whatever form it might have, whether it is online or not, carefully and wisely to suit your needs best. And this is keeping a reading diary is one of the ideas that my students actually suggested. They are quite fond of their phones. Some of them told me that after they leave class, once they have read a text or after they read at home, they take their phones and write something in an application called Notes or Keep. This is how they make sure that they practice the vocabulary they have just acquired, right? I strongly recommend that you do this if you want to also improve your productive skills, your writing and speaking skills. Discuss what you have read with a friend. We do this in class as well. Perhaps an extreme attention to the language the speakers are using as you converse with your friends might be a solution as well. When we have our conversations in class, students practically learn from one another, not just from the teacher. But you can do this outside of class too, if you have motivation, I suppose. And last but never the least, as I said, Practice with materials which focus on grammar, vocabulary, but also with actual reading tests. We do this in class quite a lot, and it seems to improve the results of the students by up to even 40%. So go for it. As many tests as you can do. There are plenty of resources out there, practice test books, or perhaps tests online. Just do them well ahead of the exam. But let's see writing. As I said, after you read, it might be useful to write something about what you just have read. Let's see the structure first. In the CAE, there are 2 tasks, both of them just as long, 220 to 260 words. As of 2015, in part 1, invariably, you will receive an essay to write, and we'll take a look at a task in a minute. In part 2, there are 4 potential tasks, and you will have a choice to make in the exam as well. You don't have to write all of them. Just one. Either a letter or an email, a proposal, a report, or a review. And I suppose that if you do read, you might be exposed to letters and reviews more than with proposals and reports, right? Which is why in class we focus more on the texts that are less available on the internet and are less interesting to the reading for pleasure type of exercise. The whole test lasts 1 hour and 30 minutes, no problem there. I think that if you spend 45 minutes on each text, you should be fine. Whereas the IELTS only lasts 60 minutes, but do take into consideration that the tasks are shorter. In fact, the first one is much shorter, 150 words at least, totally doable. We'll take a look at a task in a minute, a concrete task for you to see exactly what the IELTS academic writing deals with. Just for now, you should know that task 1 includes a description of visual input, graphs, tables, charts, diagrams, or pie charts, for example. Whereas in task 2 here, you have invariably an essay. So you can't get away from the essay, I suppose. But again, practice makes perfect, and you shouldn't feel clustered or panicked about these things. So, as I said, let's take a look at an actual task. It will seem a bit long, I'm warning you, but we'll manage with it. Here is an example of CAE writing part 1. Before you start writing, therefore, you have to do quite a lot of reading in the exam as well. You have to become familiar with the task so that you know exactly what you need to do. I'm afraid that all these sentences that are written there might also confuse and distract you. So this is what we do with our students. We highlight the most important information. For starters, you should be aware of the words, the number of words that you need to write, and to the fact that you need to write in an appropriate style. So this is something that our students, for instance, would underline in the exam or while they practice, or of course in class when we do writing. And here's a question for you. Please use the chat box again. What other key aspects would you highlight in the task? I'm interested in your opinions. What is the essential information that we're looking at here? Type in your answers. Select the keywords from the task, please. Let's see how well you do. If the text is a little blurry, don't worry, it might get clearer. It has to do with the broadband transmission. But don't panic, there will also be a YouTube link sent to you, and hopefully the visibility will be much higher. Okay, so I see one, our radio discussion, great. Tatiana, wide range of vocabulary, excellent, bravo. Flavia, facilities and local authorities, absolutely key and important information therefore. Anything else? Oh, what facility is more important? Yes, support your answer, use your own words. Excellent, Eugen. Using your own words, we'll get back to that. 2 of the facilities, bravo, Dragos, very important. Aha, and the local authorities, yes. Museums, okay, I see that we are noticing the 3 methods, the 3 notes that we have there. Radio discussion. Okay, good. Well, I see you're doing very well here. The first step has been taken. I have highlighted most of them for you. As you can see, the essential information is in fact quite reduced once you focus on it. The rest of the text becomes sort of noise, I guess, and you shouldn't focus on unessential parts. Of course, it's important to know that you need to select only 2 of the 3 ideas that you are presented with: museums, sports centers, or public gardens, and the fact that you need to choose one that is more important, right, for the local authorities. And I see that you've selected local authorities. Bravo on that. This will tell you more about the style, the formal style that you need to write in. Now, about the opinions that you see in between quotation marks, as some of you have already noticed, if you want to use them, that is, if you have no ideas about what to write, that's okay. They provide some opinions. Don't worry about it, just rephrase them in an appropriate style and in your own words. So the task doesn't seem that difficult now. All you'd have to do is start an actual plan for your writing and then to write it. Don't forget to proofread at the end. It saves quite a lot of trouble, and I think that you reduce the risks of making mistakes in writing. But enough about writing part 1. Let's see what a part 2 task is. If you remember, in part 2 you have choice. There will be 3 tasks, out of which some of them could be letters or emails, reviews, proposals, or reports. Well, I selected a review task for you today. The task is much shorter, as you might have noticed. It's important for you to read all 3 tasks before you make a choice, so that you identify what content and what kind of task you are most familiar and comfortable with. Another thing that we do in class, if underlining is not your forte, if you don't like it, as we did before, underlining the keywords, in order to identify what the main points of content are, you could do this. You could rewrite a list of the things you need to cover. Some students have confessed that writing a list helps them with organization more. The information is less scattered, and they manage to solve the task properly. So whichever one you feel like using, go for it, as long as you do select the most important information out of the entire rubric that you get. Let's see something about the language that you might use. I'm going to show you an extract, a brief part of a student written text as a response to the task you've just seen. Let me show you the task again so that you know what we're dealing with. Yes, it's the review. And further on, I will show you 2 extracts, in fact, one from one student, one from another. Take some time to read them, and in the chat box, please tell me which one you think is better, the first one or the second one. Which one you think would receive a higher mark in the exam. I see Diana asked a very interesting question here. A 5-minute brainstorming would help. Yes, absolutely, Diana. A very on-point question before you start brainstorm. Oh, and I see we are starting to receive quite a lot of answers. The second one, you feel the second one is better? Most of you do that, actually. Okay, thank you, Kodrina, Eugen, Christian, thank you very much. Alexander thinks the first one, okay, it's not bad, absolutely. Both of them are quite well written. In the Cambridge Advanced, I suppose the question is, which option would be better for you to use in order to score a higher point? And what I also tell my students, aim high in order to land near your goal, right? Yes, okay. I see we have a few opinions saying first, a lot of opinions saying the second one. Let me show you which extract the examiners would have graded a higher note. And it's this one, the second one, in fact. You might have noticed that neither of them have mistakes. They are very well organized, so no problems there. The question is, how is the language? Which one is more upgraded? And to help you with this, I have highlighted the grammatical aspects and the lexical aspects that the second test does a little better, just a little. As you can see, the second writer chose to rephrase the if clause, if you visit, and replace it with an inversion, which would be much more appreciated in the Cambridge Advanced. Of course, this is also available for IELTS. The better the language, the higher the band, but there is no fail, so it's not as severe, I suppose. Take a look at the words as well. Astonished instead of surprised, imposing instead of big, and so on and so forth. My favorite, tranquil, instead of quiet. I guess you could take a few words out of these and use them in your writings. I think it's unlikely that you could write a text without words such as enormous, exquisite, tranquil, imposing, or an if clause, of course. Now, I jumped the gun a little and told you a bit about IELTS. So again, the better the language, the higher the band. But let's see first what an IELTS writing part 1 looks like. The task is much shorter, first of all, but as I told you before, there is visual input that you need to focus on. And this is what it looks like. So, underlining the key aspects won't be a problem. Selecting the key aspects won't be an issue. Of course, the task is quite simple. But what you should start with are a few things. First of all, understand the vertical, which, as you can see, is the percentage of total travelers. Understand the horizontal, the means of transportation, and the differences in between these bars that you can see in the bar chart. Each ear has a different color, and therefore it will be easy for you to compare the ears, the means of transportation, in terms of how many travelers there were, or the percentage of total travelers that they received. At first, it might seem a daunting task, but those of you who are maths whizzes, I suppose, will have an easier task here. Not to worry, with enough practice and explanation and feedback, you will be able to write this task in less than 20 minutes. Trust me, students practice with us quite a lot, and they tell us at the end of each IELTS course that this part is in fact their favorite. Now, writing for the IELTS part 2 would be, if you remember, again, an essay. The task is a little longer, but not too daunting. Again, you should underline the key aspects or make a list, or as has been suggested, brainstorm a few ideas, an essential part of writing, of course, then organize your ideas, and finally, do the actual text. Don't forget to proofread again. And as you can see, or might have already noticed, the task is more mature, perhaps. They are asking for your own opinion. And in order to do that, you can support your opinion from knowledge or experience. If you want to score higher, a higher band, I suggest you resort to research that you might have read, or studies that you might have heard of, surveys that you might have participated in even. The task is not something that you might not be familiar with. Technology and traditional culture, we are part of it. And I think this is something that the IELTS does well. It triggers opinions that are meaningful on the parts of the students. And it brings about topics that are interesting to the takers of the exam. How can you improve is the question, where here are a few things that I also tell my students and that we put a lot of emphasis on during our classes. First of all, practice makes perfect, as I said. So write answers to exam type tasks. And here I cannot stress enough the fact that you need feedback. Feedback can be received from another person, maybe a friend, a classmate, a work colleague, that can provide you with essential feedback on the ideas that you brought in or the language. Maybe you can ask someone who speaks English well and at a proficient level to do that. But if I may, professional feedback from teachers and from examiners know exactly what these exams are about and what is looked for in these texts is important as well. For example, our students have writing tasks to do. We collect them, the teachers, and bring back with a grade and feedback on how to improve. Now, after the brainstorming stage, as I said, planning is extremely important. Don't go about writing things that you are not certain of or that you don't know you might want to stick to until the end. Use new vocabulary, as you saw in the extracts that we looked at before. New vocabulary, new expressions, and a wide range of grammar structures. Remember, in the IELTS, I think this is most important because there is no use of English paper. So the only way you can impress is through writing and speaking. Last but never the least, time yourself, especially when the time draws nearer to the moment you sit the exam. Start doing tasks on and against time. Make sure you do that. Even if you need supervision, that's fine. I know I did this when I needed supervision before the CAE or the IELTS. It's very helpful. Sometimes another person in the room, just like the invigilator in the real exam, helps you quite a lot. Now, let's see something more about listening for a change. In the Cambridge English Advanced, there are 4 parts, 30 questions, 40 minutes. Each part is heard twice. This is because the tasks are fairly tricky, which is to say that when you listen for the first time, you might select an answer, but the second time around, another might seem better. What we advise our students, and we actually do in class, is that while you listen, in order to keep your attention sharp, you also write down the keywords that you hear and point you in the direction of a particular answer. This way, listening also becomes a paper which you can check at the end. Otherwise, sound is in the air and you cannot go back on your answers. At the end of the test, you will have about 10 minutes to write your answers on the answer sheet. So that might even be an opportunity for you to recheck, provided that you wrote down these keywords that you heard. In the IELTS, things will go a bit more, I suppose, fast. Each section is heard once and once only, but the questions are not as tricky. So don't panic. It's not that they want to enable you not to get a better mark. The questions are simpler, I suppose, and this will take place in 30 minutes. But in these 30 minutes, you cannot doze off, mind you. You will not hear the answer to a question again. So I suppose you'd have to be a bit more attentive. But again, don't panic. Try a test, try a listening test, and you'll see that perhaps the main issue will be spelling at most. If you keep focused and you listen, you will get the correct answers. So how can you improve your results once you've taken this test? Listen to short programs in English, of course, or on an English language TV channel. There are plenty on YouTube, and there are plenty online overall. You don't have to go over your own capacity to try and find these types of programs. And when you do, watch them with subtitles if you can, if they are provided. And don't forget to also listen to songs. This is one of my students' favorite activities. Lucky them, they have lyric websites, which is extremely helpful, and you can match the sound with the word, the written form of the word, which is absolutely wonderful nowadays. but also become familiar with various accents. Some of my students I know confess that they prefer watching American TV series to any other. Some of them, however, have told me that watching Downton Abbey, for instance, helped them quite a lot with different accents. Also, the more popular documentaries on Discovery or National Geographic also get a lot of hits from students, because they know that they might hear Australian accents and other kinds as well. There will be different accents in listening in both of these exams, mind you. And finally, let's have a look at speaking. Now, for the Cambridge English Advanced, the speaking has 4 parts. There will be 2 examiners in the room and 2 candidates. The overall timing is 15 minutes. So technically, you would have to speak about 7, I suppose, since you share this time with your partner as well. Now, in the IELTS, the speaking only has 3 parts. There's an oral interview between a candidate and an examiner only. All the tests are recorded, by the way, so you can appeal the grade if you don't like it. And it takes between 11 to 14 minutes, depending on how relevant your answers were and whether the examiner knows the band that you speak at. So, I have prepared some applied tasks for you today. Here is one. This is a CAE speaking part 2. As you can see, I hope on the screen, there is no preparation time for this. The examiner will address you with the task of comparing and contrasting 2 of the 3 pictures, and will address you with these 2 questions. Don't worry though, you will be able to see all 3 pictures and the questions in front of you throughout your speech. But all this might seem a little abstract, I guess. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to watch 2 students take a CAE speaking part 2 test. While you watch, I would like you to focus on 2 questions, and I think it might be useful if you wrote these down really quickly, because you won't be able to see them once I play the video. So here's the first one. How many pictures did the candidates talk about? And for how long was each candidate allowed to talk? So 2 questions that you should focus while listening. How many pictures did the candidates talk about? For how long was each of them allowed to talk? I will leave them for another 30 seconds on the board so that you can write them down. I see Eugen has suggested The Night Manager. Haven't watched it, but thanks for the suggestion. Maybe all of us. Sherlock, of course, Theo, nice. Okay, so you've got a lot of suggestions. In fact, Sherlock is one of my favorites as well. Bravo. All right. Doctor Who, yes, definitely. An epic series. Good. Share as many of the ideas that you can. So I see that we are already starting with the answers, but first of all, let's watch the video. And we'll talk about these 2 questions afterwards. Enjoy.
In this part of the test, I'm going to give each of you 3 pictures. I'd like you to talk about them on your own for about a minute, and also to answer a question briefly about your partner's pictures. Mary, it's your turn first. Here are your pictures. They show people travelling by train. I'd like you to compare 2 of the pictures and say what different aspects of train travel they show and how the people might be feeling. All right?
Okay. Well, on the first picture you see it's really crowded in the train. I think everybody's going to work in the morning and they want to be on time. So they want to have this train and not to wait for 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And on this picture you see people, I think they're on holiday, or maybe it's a train hotel, or and having breakfast, or maybe dinner. and I think they're enjoying their holiday, or maybe it's just a luxury travel kind of first class thing maybe. And on this picture you see a lot of snow, so I think the train has a delay because of the snow. It doesn't work anymore, so everybody has to wait outside. And it's not really crowded, so I don't think it's really a big station. Or maybe it's not in the morning, or maybe at 2 or 3 o'clock.
Thank you. Thank you. Chloe, which picture do you think best shows the advantages of travelling by train?
I think this picture shows the advantages by traveling by train, because you can travel from place to another and at the same time enjoying, and they are eating, and the atmosphere seems to be quite tranquil, and they seem to be happy.
Thank you. Now, Chloe, here are your pictures.
Yeah.
They show people talking face to face. I'd like you to compare 2 of the pictures and say why these people might be talking to each other and how they might be feeling.
Okay. Right. So I will choose this picture and this picture. They are very different, because in the first picture we see a player of sport, a rugby match or something, a baseball match maybe, and he's arguing with the referee, and so they are talking because there is a problem between them, and they disagree about something. And in this picture, maybe they are friends, and one of them needs to talk to the other because she has a problem, and she trusts her friend, and she needs her because it's more an exchange or communication between 2 people that like each other. And in this one, they are more opposite. And in this picture, they are communicating. One of them is listening to the other. She wants to help her friend. And it's different because in this one, they are not talking to help each other.
Thank you. Mary, which of these people do you think know each other the best?
I think this picture, because it looks like they're friends and they trust each other, because probably she has a problem and the other woman is here to help her.
Thank you.
All right, so going back to our initial questions, please type your answers in the chat box. Let's see how many pictures did they talk about, or did they have to talk about? 2 pictures, okay. And about 2 or 3 minutes, that long, eh? 2 minutes to speak. Wow, okay. Yes, well, 2 pictures indeed. It's true, the answer for the first question, you've got it right. Only 2 out of 3. I think in the limited amount of time that you have, speaking about all 3 of them would be quite difficult. Mind the comparison factor. Okay, yes, Eugen, so they get 3 pictures, they have to choose 2. I see that you think that they have to speak for 2 or 3 minutes. Might seem longer, I guess, but a minute is all that each candidate has in order to achieve the task. And if you remember, the task is quite complex. So they have to compare and contrast the 2 pictures and answer both questions. However, the questions are not there to stop you or refrain you from answering. In fact, they're there to help you. Once you answer the first question, you make sure that you have compared and contrasted, right? And the second one would be more about your opinion on the matter, so you wrap things up nicely. The questions are there to help, keep in mind. And yeah, it might seem like a lot. Ooh, here's a question that is on the topic. How long is the speaking test? As you might have seen earlier on, the speaking test in CAE lasts 50 minutes. Okay, yes. And 11 to 14 in the IELTS. Okay? So let's see. In the IELTS speaking part 2, as you can see, we're comparing to part 2 sample tasks. This is what you'd get. And this is, in fact, what you would also see during the 1 minute preparation time that you have. So they are a little more generous, I guess. In speaking part 2 of the IELTS, you actually get a minute preparation time. You will get a pen and a paper, and you can write down maybe some useful vocabulary that you might want to use, some ideas that you definitely want to use in your answer and you don't want to forget about. Typically, you have 1 minute to, well, be alone with yourself and to figure out how you go about the task. There are a few things that you need to pay attention to in terms of content, but again, this might seem a little abstract. So we're going to watch a student take this speaking part 2, this very task of the IELTS. Of course, while you watch, please pay attention to 2 questions. For how long was the candidate allowed to talk? And was the candidate interrupted during their talk? 2 important questions that you need to be aware of when you prepare for the IELTS speaking. I will leave them for about 30 seconds on the screen so that you can write them down, and then we'll watch. Okay, everyone, enjoy. Here we go, IELTS speaking part 2.
Right, now I'm going to give you a topic and I'd like you to talk about it for 1 to 2 minutes. And before you talk, you have 1 minute to think about what you're going to say. Then you can make some notes if you wish. Do you understand?
Yes.
So here's some paper and a pencil for making notes. And here's your topic. I'd like you to describe an indoor game you have enjoyed playing in your free time. All right, remember you have 1 to 2 minutes for this, so don't worry if I stop you. I'll tell you when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please?
Okay, actually, I haven't played indoor games for ages, I think, since my childhood, because now I don't have enough free time and I'm always busy with my reading or writing. And if I have a free time, I prefer to do some more active things, for example, dancing or going for a walk. But when I was a child, I remember one game. Actually, I don't know the name of this game, because I think it was invented by my parents. We were playing at the table.
Yes.
We had a big sheet of paper, and my mom, my dad, they make a line or a dot or something like this, and me and my brother, we had to convert this line to a whole picture, and we liked it very much. Actually, I'm not much of an artist, but this game, it improves our imagination, and it just very pleasant way to pass the time. But actually, I don't like games, but a lot of my friends, they like games. And they always play computer games. And also, when we are together, when we are meeting with my friends, we prefer to sing songs or to do such a thing like we prefer, for example, to cook something together and then to eat it. And actually, we don't play games. But there is one more game. We played it, I think, a few months ago. It's called charades, charades, something like this. I don't know the appropriate word in English. So one person tells a word to another person, and this player have to show with gestures what does that word mean, and other people.
Thank you. Do your friends enjoy playing this game?
Yes, but if you play this game for too long, it could be boring.
Right, thank you. Can I have the task?
All right, so going back to our 2 questions. For how long was the candidate allowed to speak in the IELTS? Aha, Alexandra, she's not interrupted, but she communicates with the woman. Okay, yes. Irina thinks she will be interrupted. Okay, good point. We'll talk about how this happens, the interruption and why. Yes, okay, so Corinne again noticed that she was interrupted. I wonder if that is true though. 1 to 2 minutes, Livia. Yes, Kosti, of course. Juliana, you're a little optimistic though. It's not that long. Okay, Irina, Diana, thank you very much for your input. You've been amazing, and thanks a lot for that. The candidate in the IELTS speaking test is allowed to speak up to 2 minutes, 1 to 2 minutes. But what we do with students is tell them that if they have 2 minutes, they should use the time up to the best of their ability. Don't stop short. Obviously, you want to showcase as much of the language of the level that you have as possible, right? So if they allow you to speak for 2 minutes, just go for it. And as far as the interruption goes, she was interrupted after the 2 minutes, not during. So the interruption occurred because in order to move to the next speaking part, the third part of the speaking test, they want to make a smooth transition. You might have noticed how the student felt perhaps a little more natural in the IELTS, I guess. She spoke and she, as somebody noticed, in fact, spoke and communicated with the examiner, and the examiners seem genuinely interested in the ideas the candidates are putting forward. So was the candidate interrupted? The answer would be no, not during the 2 minutes, but after, in order to know that they can stop, they have achieved the task, and they can move on to speaking part 3. You should notice also that during their talk in both CAE and IELTS, you are allowed to gesture, you are allowed to be natural. In fact, this is what the examiners also look for, I guess, at the advanced level, feeling natural while you speak. Now, when it comes to preparation, I know that we do a lot of speaking in class, exam related, non-exam related, but as the exam draws nearer, we do mock speaking tests with our students. So we try to simulate the conditions identically as they would be in the exam, so that our students will enhance their endurance. First of all, you have to speak at length. And their pronunciation, vocabulary, grammar, and overall fluency. But what can you do at home? Well, express your opinions, sometimes talking to a friend, maybe even simulating the conditions of the exam could work. Introducing yourself, agreeing, disagreeing, justifying a point of view. These are the things you would want to include in conversations if you want to prepare for these exams. As I said, meeting your friends is important. But, and don't laugh here, join a conversation club. In fact, we have just started our second module of conversation clubs. This is organized by a native speaker, a native teacher, Michael Fraser. And I have to tell you that the students that are taking part in both our CAE preparation classes or IELTS preparation classes and the conversation club have better fluency, I guess. They get used to speaking to a person who doesn't understand a word of Romanian, and they can only be spoken to in English. And another thing you could do is quite simply go to a restaurant, go to a shop, go shopping in English. Fun fact, I once went to a store, it was very crowded. I tried to get the attention of one of the shop assistants, but no such luck. And then I started speaking English. You have no idea how fast I received the items I needed. So there, speaking English, I guess, pays off, and it has its benefits, in foreign countries at least. So go for it. Meet friends, speak in English, or even join a conversation club. It's not really a club that you would usually go to, but you might want to take it up. It's quite fun. So we have reached almost the final part of our talk. Our final part will be answering your questions, of course. But first of all, can you answer mine? So I'm going to show you a statement one at a time. What I need you to do is to write CAE or IELTS in the chat box. Don't be shy, participate. Let's see what you remember. Let's start with the first one. The writing paper. You could be asked to write one of the following. Okay, let's see. CAE. Okay, I see most of you. CAE. Okay, an overwhelming number of totally correct answers. Bravo. Yes, these functional types are specific to the CAE. Bravo there. Now, let's continue with the second statement. Let's see if you can get this one right. It's still about the writing paper. But the first task involves interpreting data from a visual input chart, graph, diagram, and so on and so forth. So which one, IELTS or CAE? Okay, and I see, yes, that most of you are opting for the IELTS. Okay, good. You have been paying attention. You have been very engaged in this webinar, and thanks a lot for that. Congratulations to you. It's the IELTS. Yes, indeed. This is the exam where you'd have to analyze data. Now, next question, statement, in fact. Speaking test, 1 minute preparation time. Let's see if you remember this one. Of course. That's nice. Okay, IELTS, good. The opinions are a little divergent. I see some of you are going for the CAE, but majority for the IELTS. And you are right to do so. In none of the parts of the Cambridge English Advanced, or CAE as we know it, will you have time to prepare. There is no preparation time throughout the CAE speaking test, but there is 1 minute preparation time in speaking part 2 of the IELTS. Let's see the next sentence, still about the speaking test, a conversation with a partner. CAE or IELTS? Conversation with a partner, another candidate, so to speak. Okay, and we have the avalanche of CAEs. Lovely. Okay, wonderful. It is indeed the CAE exam, the Cambridge English Advanced, right? And last one, bear with me, reading paper this time. It also has use of English exercises. Which of these two exams is it? None of the exams. I wonder if that's right though. Eugen says CAE. Could it be right? See, we have either CAE or IELTS, but the balance, I think, goes towards the CAE, and yes, you are right. The IELTS has no use of English component. There is no grammar or vocabulary overtly tested. It's only tested through the language you produce. But in the CAE, they actually have 4 out of 8 parts in the reading and use of English paper, which tests grammar and vocabulary specifically and visibly. So if you're preparing for the CAE, perhaps a grammar book and more practice on the grammar and the vocabulary of the level would help. Also, pay attention to the fact that when you sit the IELTS, you don't need to know necessarily the level you have, because you get a band from 1 to 9. But with the CAE, the story is different. You need to know your level of language to know that you can sit this exam. Well, thanks a lot for all your input. It has been great. I see we got a little carried away, 4 minutes extra than the 60, but I hope that it was useful for you. And now it's time to see if we have any questions, and I'll start with one about where you can prepare. You typed it into the chat box. Well, if you are in Bucharest, you could join us for one of our conversation clubs or our exam preparation classes. And especially during the summer, since most of our current preparation classes are headed towards the exam, which is going to be in about 2.5 months time, 3 months. So it's not worth registering now, but during a summer course where you can have input and feedback from experienced teachers, which can guide you in the direction that you need to in order to, well, make the best, I guess, out of the situation. First, you will take a placement test to see exactly what level you have and to offer you the best preparation course we can. You will have access to official exam materials. At the end of the summer course, there will be a full mock exam where we simulate the exact conditions of the real tests. During the course, you will do several speaking tests to get you started and to increase your fluency. And also our students have a 20% discount on exam fees, which is quite hefty. And this was actually another question about the prices. Well, I'm not entirely certain that this is the case, but again, for this year's registrations, the IELTS is 800 RON, as far as I am aware, and the CAE is 650 RON. So they are quite steep, and you should prepare well in advance by doing some FC, CAE, or IELTS preparation. Now, I noticed another question that came up, which was, which one should I take for university? I think that the best option would be for you to actually access the websites of the universities that you're interested in. You will see that different universities require different tests. And if you apply through UCAS, for example, which is the famous website where students can apply to universities in the Great Britain, then through UCAS, you can apply to 5 universities. You'll have to do your research and see what exams they want. If at least 1 out of the 5 universities requires an IELTS, whereas the others, the CAE, you'll need both. So again, it's a matter of a requirement. If you're doing these courses and you're sitting these exams or tests for yourself, then it doesn't really matter, does it? I do hope that you are ready to make a decision based on the presentation you've seen. And as far as job opportunities are concerned, both of them will be useful. Again, it's a matter of whichever one you feel closest to, more familiar with, I suppose. Now, if you have other questions, I will try to answer as many as possible today. Or if you are interested in a summer course or a conversation club, then don't hesitate to follow our blog, follow the information we post on Facebook. We post daily useful information about different exams and different strategies, different aspects of English. So visit our website to see, if you are in Bucharest, which of our branches is closer to you. And of course, write to us on the email that you can see on the screen, info@shakespeare-school.ro. I am interested in hearing from you. And now, let's see. Jenny is asking, are there any exams held right after the summer? Yes. We'll have to check with the schedule. Yes, Eugen. As far as I know, there will be a session in September, but again, we have to check the availability of the Cambridge exams. There's usually a Cambridge exam in Bucharest every 3 months. While for the IELTS, you can sit it every month. So it doesn't really matter what season it is. Therefore, feel free to simply prepare and join it. Okay, what other questions have we got? I'm going to... Cesarina is asking an interesting question. How can I access IELTS mock exams or CAE mock exams? Well, I'm afraid that online there aren't any for free. There are printed practice test books, which are specifically called past papers. This means that those books contain actual tests that have been given in previous sessions of the exam. About the costs of the conversation club, I guess Cesar is asking. I believe the price is 490 RON. And the summer club, well, about these administrative informations, do write. I don't have all the necessary information at hand right now, but they will be available through our administrative desk if you write to info@shakespeare-school.ro. You should know, however, that the summer courses last 3 weeks, not the entire summer. So that's probably something you would take into consideration as you proceed with your preparation. Okay. How can I have access to the presentation? A YouTube link will be sent to you immediately after we wrap up our discussion today. So you have access to reviewing this presentation at your discretion. Don't worry about that. Yes, Diana, you can get both of these exams in Cluj if you just access the British Council website. There are sessions of exams held in Cluj for both Cambridge and IELTS. All you have to do is check their availability. As far as I know, the IELTS is not monthly, it's not held monthly in Cluj, but then again, I may be wrong. You can find the exact dates, fees, and locations for these exams on the British Council website, which has a branch in Cluj and can help you with that. Oh, okay, a link, sure. Okay, in the meantime, if there are any other questions that you have, feel free to share them. Okay, and you can see the situation in Cluj right now. The administrator of this webinar has just posted them. Okay, good. Can you please tell me if CAE has a term of validity? It is technically valid for life. It gives you a certificate that you can use at your discretion throughout your lifetime. However, as I told you in the beginning, if you are interested in using the CAE diploma for university applications, most universities will want it fresh. So you should take the CAE 2 years before applying max. That is, if you can, sit it 1 year before, that would be best. Which one of the two would be more likely to be useful for studying in the UK? Again, it depends on university. Both of them have equal popularity, so to speak. So I think that you need to look exactly at the websites of each university to find that out. For studying in the United States, apart from a language test, yes, the SATs will be needed, perhaps not for all universities, but again, this should be part of your research, accessing the websites of each university to find out exactly what exams other than language exams are required. What about northern countries? Interesting. As far as I know, either one, again, depending on university. I had students who went to study in Denmark and the Netherlands with the CAE. Yes, Alexandra, I think it might be, but I haven't done research in this field in order to speak for certain. So the best key is for you to do your research and visit the university websites that you are interested in. Also, if you take one of the exams, I suppose that this might even be a criterion of selection. Say, if you have the IELTS or the CAE and you notice that 5 universities you might be interested in require the one you have, but the 6th one doesn't, obviously you won't sit another one, right? So you might select the university based on the diploma that you have. And to study in the USA, this is an interesting thing. I think the IELTS or the TOEFL, TOEFL, the TOEFL exam might be the ones you need. I'm not sure how popular the Cambridge English Advanced is. I had students who went there with a CAE diploma, but might be less popular. Who do I contact to join the Shakespeare School Bucharest? Please feel free to write at info@shakespeare-school.ro. You'll receive all the information there from our administrative bureau, from the people who actually do the enrollments. Are these exams recognized all around the European Union? Yes, yes they are. Yes, they are. And as contributing, yes, TOEFL is another option for the USA. CAE is recognized in Europe, both CAE and IELTS actually. But again, I would be safe and cautious when opting for universities, and I would research exactly what exam they require. What's my opinion about these books? Okay, interesting. Let me access the website. Oh, I think it's an excellent idea. You should go for it. Yes, the IELTS Super Pack. Nice. Glad you found it. It contains a lot of the tests that you need. It has audio CDs. You can do practice test with it. So yes, go for it. And it's not that expensive either. It's an economical solution, I guess. Yeah. IELTS is recognized in the United States. However, for university applications, again, you need to check with the university. But yes, the IELTS is recognized in the United States, in Australia, in Europe, everywhere, basically. And both of them are recognized, again, by thousands of universities. Okay. Any questions that you might have? I see a lot of questions about how you can register for preparation courses. Any questions you have, please address them on the email address that you can see on the screen right now. And you will be guided and directed. Textbook recommendations. That's an interesting issue. Well, for the IELTS, I guess you could go for the series, either Ready for IELTS or Objective IELTS. One of my favorites is also Insights into IELTS. So whichever one you like. Whereas for the CAE, I would go for Complete CAE. Spotlight. Spotlight is an excellent textbook that you could get. It has a lot of grammar vocabulary that you need for the papers. And I think it's one of the cheaper ones as well. So you might want to look into Spotlight on CAE, sorry. Yes, indeed. So CAE is for life. IELTS doesn't give you a certificate, doesn't give you a diploma. It gives you a statement of result, which is valid for 2 years, and 2 years only. After that, you'd have to resit it, I guess. Wow, thanks a lot for all your interest. It's been wonderful talking to you this evening. I'm sorry I kept you so late, but I'm hoping that we keep communicating and that you use the communication methods you see on board on the screen. Yes, Alexandra, after 2 years, you'd have to resit the IELTS, indeed. How can you prepare for TOEFL? Well, just access. TOEFL has a lot of resources online. Most of them are paid for, so you have to pay a certain fee, but the TOEFL is computer-based, so you would have to prepare in front of the computer. I'm not sure about the extended validity to 3 years. I will have to look into that. Doubt it though. TV programs or movie recommendations? Well, first of all, I would recommend The Big Bang Theory. I recommend it to all my students. Half of them at least are watching it, and they tell me that the more they watch the series, the more vocabulary they notice, especially if they watch it with subtitles, because otherwise the words just flow by them. And there's a lot of posh, fancy vocabulary used there. As far as other series are concerned, I would definitely recommend Downton Abbey. Some of my students also mentioned the TV series Skins, which is mainly addressed to teenagers. If you're interested, I would definitely watch. I'm not sure if you like this kind of show though, but Grey's Anatomy would be an example of more terminological language, I guess. As far as movies are concerned, well, whatever is top rated, right? Depending on your preferences as well. Don't waste your time with low rated ones. They probably don't contain language that is so impressive. And I'm not sure which was the last film that I watched in a different accent, but I would recommend Misfits as another TV series with plenty of access. Scottish, Irish, Misfits, remember it? And for movies, the last one I saw was, I think Filth is called. It's quite strong. If you don't have the stomach for it, don't watch it. But probably anything from Guy Ritchie. Quite a lot of accents there. I don't know, Fight Club, for instance. Many accents. Yeah, Doctor Who, exactly. An excellent TV show, as I said, one for the ages, an epic. When is the next stream going to be? Well, we are not sure yet. If there is interest, by the way, it would help us if you told us what you might be interested in finding out next. So send your suggestions as well. We are gathering and we will try to do webinars further on based on the tasks or the skills or the exams that you want to find out more about. So if you want to find out more about writing or speaking, we can focus on that. Dr. House, yes, very good suggestion. And about music, Pink Floyd, probably one of the best ones you'll ever see or hear. I'm thinking of The Dark Side of the Moon here, extremely wealthy in vocabulary. Okay, so it's almost 10 p.m. Thanks a lot for your continued attention and enthusiasm. Don't refrain from writing to us. Looking forward to other suggestions that you have for other webinars, and get some rest, sleep on the information that you have received. And hopefully I'll see you soon again. Again, many thanks for this evening. It has been lovely. Thanks a lot for all your questions and all your input. Good night, everyone.